you'll be unmuted, and then if I say you're unmuted, just listen also to your name, especially if you raised your hand, so that you can talk and we can waste less time. Because we've seen with the unmuting, people, they get scared and then they don't say anything, and then other people who have raised their hands. So it won't be nice to unmute you and then you don't talk and then I mute you again. So if you raise your hand and you unmuted, so I'll say, Kayla, for example, you unmuted, then you talk, and then we'll mute you again. So that is how we're going to work. So feel free to ask any questions. We are actually a happy bunch here, and then there is no SMS bullying. So we respect each other. Also on the chat, okay, call it an SMS. We respect each other, and then if someone gets something wrong, yes, that is how we learn. So don't be scared to say the answer. Actually, if you say it wrong, then I'm able to correct you. But if you keep quiet, by the end of the lesson, you wouldn't have said your wrong answer, and I wouldn't have corrected you. Okay. So enough about me talking. Now we're going to start. So we are looking at factors and multiples. Our main topic is multiplication. So we cannot do multiplication without looking at factors and multiples. So by the end of this lesson, you will know what is a factor, and you also know what is a multiple, and you'll be able to find multiples and factors of whole numbers up to 100. So you know what a factor is, and you know what is a multiple, and you'll be able to find multiples and factors of all numbers up to 100. I know most of you guys by now you confuse a factor and a multiple, so I'll try by all means to distinguish them for you, so that by the end of the lesson, when you hear the word factor, you're not going to confuse it with multiples, because those are two different things, and I'll also show you the distinctions. So what are factors? When you talk about factors, what are we talking about? So we say a factor is a number that when multiplied with another produces a given number. So it's a number that when multiplied with another, it produces a given number. For example, to find the factors of 12, we have to find two numbers that when we multiply them together, they give us 12. So you always be given a number, find a factor of 50, find factors of 50 or find factors of 20. So you have to find, it's more than 2 for some numbers, and the others, it's just 2 numbers. And in grade 6, you're going to look at those prime numbers. I'll just touch on them a little bit so that you have that information. So if we're looking for factors, we have to find what we call factor pairs. So we find 2 numbers that when we multiply them together, we get 12, and we exhaust them. So we find all the numbers. So for example, here, we are looking for factors of 12. So the first numbers, or the first factor of a number is 1. So all the numbers as a factor is 1, and that number, or we say and itself. So if we're looking for factors of 12, then 1 and 12 are the first ones, such that if you have the number 3, 1 and 3 will be the first factors that you're going to write. And then if we're looking for 7, 1 and 7 will be the first factors that you write. And then we can then look for other numbers that when we multiply them together, they give us that number. So 1 and 12. So always you write 1 and then you write 12 at the end. So what does this mean? It means that the factors of 12, the last factor is going to be that number. So the last factor is going to be 12. Okay, good morning, guys. Okay, I see on the chat you are greeting me. It's cool, but for now, let's listen. You guys were late. I'm sorry to say you were late. So no more chatting. We had chats with the ones that were early. So I'll move away from the chats, because I think as people see many chats coming, also me, when I see the chats, I'm thinking maybe there's a question, and it's actually greeting. So thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm greeting, so don't greet me back. Good morning, everyone. I can see you. I'll also acknowledge you as you are answering. You know how we roll. So for now, you guys are going to listen as I'm explaining, right? So that you don't get it wrong. So when we write the factors, we'll write 1, and then at the end, we write 12. So this means that the factors of 12, they start with 1 and they end with 12. They start with 1 and they end with 12. And then the second ones, now we have to look which other numbers, if we multiply them together, they give us 12. So then it's 2 multiplied by 6. It gives us 12. And then which other pair can we find? 3 multiplied by 4 gives us 12. And also, now grade 5s, you should know your tables. So if you know your tables, when you count in twos, do you say 12? So if you're counting in twos, you say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So there is 12. So it means that 2 is a factor of 12. And when you count in threes, do you say 12? So it's 3, 6, 9, 12. So it means 3 is a factor of 12. That's another way of getting it. And when you count in fours, do you say 12? So we say 4, 8, 12. So which means 4 is also a factor. When you count in fives, do we say 12? Because it's 5, 10, 15. So 5 cannot be a factor of 12. And then in 6 we say 6, 12, you see. And then when you reach half of the number, there is no factor that is beyond that number. So half of 12 is 6. So we cannot say that 7 is a factor of 12, because if I say 7 times 2, I get a 14. So now, as you have listed now the factor pairs, so we have exhausted them. I know 1 times 12 gives me 12, 2 times 6 gives me 12, 3 times 4 gives me 12. If I say 5 times 2, 5 is not a factor, because if I count in fives, I'm not going to reach 12. And then the last one will be 6. And then this means that the factors of 12 are, when we list them, always do not list them in a jumbled up order, please. We list them from smallest to biggest. I said the first one is 1, and the last one you can write it 12 on your book. Remember, your book have lines, so you can write 1, 12, and then you find the ones that are in the middle. So then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. These are factors. These are factors of 12. And then if you check here by my left corner, I have 1. You see, you can also do this. So 1 and 12, they multiply to each other to get 12. And then 2 and 6, you can see the line, 2 and 6, they multiply each other to get 12. And then 3 and 4, they multiply each other to get 12. 5, if we count in fives, we're not going to reach 12. So then 5 is not there. And then I said we end with half that number. So half of 12 is 6. Okay, so we can define factors in many ways, or we can say that a factor is a number that divides exactly into another number and leaves no remainder. So it's a number that divides exactly into another number and leaves no remainder. So we find the different factors of a number by working out which number divides into it evenly. So which number divides into it and leaves no remainder. We looked at 12, so this is another way that you can do it. So I say 12 and 1, non-negotiable. Those are the factors, those are the first factors that you have to write. The number 1 and that number. Okay, so you write 1 and that number, and then 12 divided by 2, I think I've explained this one. So 2 is a factor because it doesn't leave a remainder. 3 is also a factor because it doesn't leave a remainder. And then 6 there, and then we have 4. Okay, this is another way of doing it. Okay, and then factor pairs, explain how you would find all the factor pairs of 36 to make sure you have found all of them. So now we are moving on to 36, and how would you find all the factors of 36 to make sure that you have found all of them? Okay, so this is a time where you guys can actually raise your hands, and please don't be scared. Don't be scared. I'll correct you all the way. And what your teacher corrected, I'm telling you, you'll never forget. Okay, the first person that I saw there was Connor. Okay, we can unmute Connor. Is Connor unmuted for us?
Hello.
Oh yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Fine.
I'm also fine, Connor. Okay, so how do we find the factors of 6 using factor pairs?
We can say 36 divided by 1 is equal to 36.
Okay, so the first one is 1.
36 divided by 2 is equal to 18.
18, yes, you are right. So then we have 2 and 18 there. So you said 1, And then we have 2 and 18. Yes, you can continue.
Then 36 divided by 3 is equal to 12.
Well done. So you said 3 and 12. Okay, so we're adding more factors here there. Yes, continue.
Then there's also 36 divided by 4 is equal to 9.
So you have counted 4 and 9. Your 36 has so many factors. Yes, you can continue.
There is also 4. That is a factor of 36.
Okay, 4. Yes. We are short one. We actually short one pair, or we short either two factors. Which ones are they? You were on 9. You said 9 and 4. What about 10? Can you say 10 is a factor of 36?
No.
Okay, because it's 10, 20, 30, 40. What about 11? It's 11,
No.
20. No. What about 12?
Yes.
12 with which number?
36 divided by 3.
Yes, well done. So now, are you writing it down so that you can tell us all the factors? Were you writing that down?
No.
Okay, so okay, which factors now do you remember? You have said all the factors. So then it's 1, and then the next one is, because we have
1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
yes. We actually forgot 1, but 3,
6,
yes.
6,
4, yes, 6. We forgot 6, yes. So you said 1, 2, 3, 4, then 6, and then the next one will be
8,
not 8. 8, it's 8, 16, 24, 32. You mentioned it.
it's 9,
9, yes. 9, and then
12,
and the last, not the last, the second from the last one after 12,
18,
18, and then the last one is
36.
36. Well done, Connor. You can clap hands for yourself. I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. You can mute him. So, you see, he didn't die. He actually took a risk, so he was a risk taker. Thank you, Connor, for answering. And then I'll just project here what Connor just said. What happened there? Okay. No. Okay, we are too forward. All right. So we start with the number, which is 1, as Connor have said, and 36. So I'm not going to repeat what he said because we heard what Connor said. So we have 2 times 18. That was the first one that he started. And you also use division. So there's many ways of doing this. So you can use division. You can, either way, as long as you get it right. So he started with 2 times 18, and then with 3 times 12, with 4 times 9. So 5 is not a factor because when you count in 5, so you don't reach 36. And then we have 6. So if we list them here, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 12, 18, and 36. Do you see how many factors 36 has? So it's not all the numbers that are going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 factors. It's not all the numbers that have all those factors. So we're going to move on. Thank you, Connor, so much for answering. Okay, so we're going to do an activity together. So that means more people are going to answer. Let me just check what is on the charts. I see the charts are blowing up. Okay, all right. Okay, now we are, yes, they've told you we are busy with factors and multiples, ne? See, it's not nice to be late because you're going to look lost and I don't want to leave anyone behind. Okay, so we're going to do an activity together. Connor have already answered, so he has opened doors for more people to answer now. You see, there's nothing to be scared of. It's just you and your bedroom or your study room. No one else. They don't even know you. So you can either use one of the methods to get the factors of numbers. So you can use any method that you understand. Remember, we don't prescribe the method. Remember that when you write factors, all the number have 1 as a factor and that particular number. And then number 1, find all the factors of the following numbers. So the first number is 15. Find all the factors of 15. You can raise your hand and then you can give it to us. You can raise your hand and give it to us. Lutando have got her hand raised. I saw her first. Okay, Lutando. Is Lutando unmuted for us?
The first factor is 1 times 5.
Okay, it's 1, yes. Okay, it's 1 times what?
1 times 15.
Well done. 1 times 15. You see, I didn't tell you the answer, you knew it. 1 times 15 always, ne? Well done. And the next one?
Then call this 3, 6, 9, 12. 3 times 5.
Well done. Is there any other factor?
5 times 3.
Okay, so 3 times 5 and 5 times 3 are the same. Ne? You see as you list them. Is there any other factor pair that we can find? Lutando, we are done.
And that's all of them.
Yes, that's all of them. Well done. So can you please tell us the factors now from smallest to biggest? It's 1.
1 times 5.
No, let's
And
list
3.
them. Okay. Yes, let's list them now. We have found the factor pairs, so let's just list them. Then we'll say the factors of 15 are 1, and then the next one is
3.
well done, and the next one is
5.
well done, and the last one is
15.
15. Can you please clap hands for yourself, Rutando? Because you did well. Thank you so much for answering. Yes. Okay, so I listed them there. As Lutando said, it's 1, 3, 5, and 15. And then the next number is 20. You can raise your hand and then you give us the factors of 20. Who is unmuted for us? Okay, the next number is 20. Admin, what did you unmute for us?
You have Tafika.
Tafika. Hi, Tafika. Tafika, can you hear us? Okay, I think we can unmute someone else. We just lost. Okay. Who is unmuted now?
Rixil.
Okay, Rixel,
Hi, ma'am.
how are you?
Fine.
I'm also fine. Okay, so now we are looking for factors of 20. You can take us through, my dear.
It's 20 times 1.
Well done. 20 times 1, that's the first one. Always, ne? Always. Thank you for catching that up. And the next one?
4 times 5.
Okay, 4 times 5, yes. And the next one?
2 times 10.
Well done. Is there any other one that is left?
No, ma'am.
Okay, can you then list them for us from smallest to biggest?
It's first going to be 4 times 5.
Let's start from the smallest. Which one is the first one? Which one is the first factor? It's the first one.
2 times 10.
No, the first one. First one. Okay, I want you to check something. Now, let me give you a clue. Can you see what is happening on my screen? So you have
Yes.
listed, okay, I'm just giving an example, 15. You have said 2 times 10, and then you have said all those 4 times 5. And then underneath, we then list the factors from smallest to biggest. That's what I want you to do for me. So list them. Yes.
It's first going to be 1.
Well done.
And then it's going to be 4.
You skipped.
No, 2.
Well done.
Then it's going to be 4.
Well done.
Then 20.
4, and then no, you skipped 2. You said it's 1, 2, 4, and then which number is after 4?
5.
Yes, 5. Because remember, I said 4 times 5 to get 20. And then after 5, which one before 20? Which one do you have? What is half of 20?
10.
Yes. And then the last one will be?
20.
Well done. Thank you so much, Tafika, for taking the risk and for answering. Ne? You can clap hands for yourself. You did well. So as Tafika have told us, I see your hand, Akani. Okay, you do the next one. As Tafika have told us, so the factor pairs is 1 times 20, and then 2 times 10, then 4 times 5, and 10 times 2. So after you have gotten the factor pairs, you can list them. So if you see that there's a number that is repeating, like here, 2 times 10 and 10 times 2 is the same thing, so there was no need for me to do that. So it's 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. So you list them in ascending order from smallest to biggest. Okay, let me see what people are saying on the chat. Okay, my chat has disappeared. Okay, here, let me just check what you guys. Okay, all right. Okay, it's fine. Okay, I'm just seeing. Oh, okay, all right. You guys are clapping hands for Lutando. Okay, someone overslept. It's fine. It's a Monday. It's understandable, ne? It's understandable. Let's not be too hard on ourselves. You can go back to YouTube and rewatch what we have said. It's okay. All right. And then Akani's hand was up. I don't know if Akani still wants to answer. Akani? We can unmute Akani, and then Akani, you find all the factors of 100. You find the factors of 100 for us. Akani, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. It's 1 times 100.
Yes, 1 times 100.
Then it's
Akani, do we still have you? I think we lost Akani. I think her network was bad there. Akani, I think we lost you. Okay, yeah, okay, yes, Rishile. It's Rishile, ne? Not Rizal. It's fine, Rishile. Well done. I see that. All right. We can unmute someone else. I think we've lost. Okay, Aquila. Let's unmute Aquila. Aquila just raised their hand. Hi, Aquila.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, can you please tell me how do you pronounce your name? Is it Aquila or Aquila?
Aquila.
Or Aquila? Or Aquila and the Bee? You know Aquila and the Bee? You know the movie Aquila and the Bee, right? Okay, also
Yes,
I love it. Okay. All right, yes, Aquila. So can you do the factors of 100 for us by using the
Ma'am,
factor first?
the
Yes.
first one is 100 times 1.
You are right.
The second one is 10 times 1. I mean 10 times 100.
10 times 10.
10 times 10. 10 times 10.
Mhm.
And then
Can I help you? Let me help you there.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, you started with 1 times 100, right?
Yes,
And then
ma'am.
what is the next number after 1?
2.
2, right? Okay, so is there any number that you can multiply with 2 to get 100?
Mm. um,
Or is there any number that we can multiply with 50 to get 100? Now that's a clue.
yes, ma'am.
Which number is it? If we say 50 times?
50 times 2 is 100.
Well done. So then, which means the next factor pair will be 2 times 50. And what is the next one?
Then
Welcome to
it
Open
is
Street Shore. Speaking to Sumaya. I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
4 times 4 times 4 times 50.
4 times 25, but well done for the 4. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say 3. So that's good. 4 times 4 times 25.
Okay.
And the next one,
And then the next one is
which number is after 4?
5.
5. So we'll say 5 times which number?
Yeah, 5 times 10.
Okay. What is your policy number?
5 times
No,
20.
5 times 20.
Yes, 5 times 20. Okay, let's just go back. So you have said 1 times 100. I hope you're writing it.
Yes, ma'am.
1 times 100. And then you say 2 times 50.
Yes.
Okay, so you wrote 1 times 100. And then 2 times 50.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you said 4 times 25. Then you said 5 times 20.
Okay. Can I speak to your
One
husband?
that is short. Which one is short?
Can I please speak to your husband?
10 times 10.
10 times 10, yes. Write 10 times 10 for me then.
Hi, how are you?
10 times 10 makes. So now I must put 10
I'm
in.
very well.
10 times
Can I
10,
ask you
yes.
to please confirm your initials and surname, as well as your address?
Okay. So now can you list them for us from smallest to biggest?
Ma'am, it's first.
And your cell phone number?
4 times 25.
The first one is?
1 times 100.
Yes, so the first number is 1. And then the second
Sorry?
number,
2 times 50.
so the second number is 2. And the third
Would
number,
like to confirm that all our calls are
The
recorded,
third number
and
is
a
4.
copy of this recording
well
will
done,
be
the third
made
number is
available
4. And the fourth number,
I'm an authorized representative of
It's
Sure.
5.
A copy of
is
the
5.
group,
And the
and
next
I'm
number
fully
is
mandated to provide you with
10.
advice,
10.
as well
And
as
then
information
second from the
about
last.
And
rank is
the
it?
last
Separated
one.
from the last. It's both from the last. After 10 we have
Excuse me?
The bed. After 10, we have
20. No, we have
Sentinel home
20.
loans.
Then we have
Okay.
25.
It is noted on your
We have
policy.
50. And we have 100. Nah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much for answering, Akila. I see you are sharing your
No,
study
it's
with.
written on your policy already.
Okay, thank you so much. We
It's
can
not,
mute
I
Akila.
don't know Sentinel home loans. That's all I was asking.
Okay, all right. So what Akila was saying, which is right, thank you so much for trying and for being a risk taker. So we had 1 times 100, then we had 2 times 50, we had 4 times 25, 5 times 20, 10 times 10, and 50 times 2. So as you can see, 100 has so many factors. So you just have to make sure that you don't leave out any factor. And if we list them from smallest to biggest, because I can see most of you are writing, which is good. So then we'll say factors of 100 is 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, and the last one is 100. I'll repeat, the factors of 100 will be 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20, 25, 50, and then 100. So those are the factors of 100. I hope you guys understand how we get the factors, right? So now there is what you call rules of divisibility. I don't expect you to know these rules today. So you can, if using Platinum, they are there. I don't know about Viva. I said I don't have Viva. So you can also go, or you can take a picture of these ones if your textbook doesn't have them. So the rules of divisibility. So how do you know that a number is divisible by 2? Or how do you know that a number can be divided by 2? Or how do we know that a number can be divided by 3, for example? So I'm just going to go through them. It doesn't mean that you grasp them. Maybe when I'm done, you only know the rules of 2 and 5 and 10, because those are the easier ones, and maybe 3. So don't beat yourself if you don't get them. You just have to practice them. It will take you about 2 weeks to know them anywhere. So don't beat yourself. So how do you know that a number is divisible by 2? So if the last digit of any number, it doesn't matter which number it is, if the last digit is an even number. So if the last digit is a 2, it's a 0, a 2, a 4, a 6, or an 8, then we know that number is divisible by 2. So that number would definitely have a factor, as a 2 as a factor, right? And then how do you know that a number is divisible by 3? So I said we know that a number is divisible by 2 if the last digit of that number, whether it's a trillion or a billion or a million number, as long as the last digit is a 2, then we know that number has 2 as a factor. And then how do you know that the number is divisible by 3? Okay, so the sum of the 3 digits has to be divisible by 3. What does this mean? If the number is 102, so the sum of 102, so we'll say 1 plus 0 plus 2. That's what the sum means. 1 plus 0 plus 2. If the number is 457, so the sum of 457 is 4 plus 5 plus 7. So we add the digits. That's what we mean when we say the sum of a number. So we look at a number and then we add the digits together. And if the answer is divisible by 3, or if the answer is a multiple of 3, then we know that that number is has 3 as a factor, right? So the sum of a digit means that we have to add the numbers or the digits of that number. That is called a sum. So you're also going to find this even when we're not doing factors. You find a question that says, what is the sum of the digits? And you are given a number, 85. So it means that you have to say 8 plus 5, which is 13. So the sum of 85, or the sum of the digits of 85, is 8 plus 5. So you look at a number to find that if it's divisible by 3, you look at a number, you add the digits. And then after adding the digits, you look at the answer. If that answer is a multiple of 3, then we know that that number is divisible by 3. Okay, I have an example I'll show you. And then how do we know that the number is divisible by 4? So you have to look at the last 2 digits. And then the last 2 digits has to be divisible by 4. What does this mean? If a number is 404, the last 2 digits is 0 and 4. So this means that 404 is divisible by 4 without actually dividing 404 by 4. So you just look at the last 2 digits. Say, for example, the number is 716. So the last 2 digits is 16, right? And then 16 is divisible by 4 because if I count in 4s, I will count 16. So I'll say 4, 8, 12, 16. So if I count in 4s, I'll count 16, right? And then, so if the last 2 digits is divisible by 4, then you don't need to divide the whole number. You just check the last 2 digits. The rule of 5, I'm sure everyone knows this one. How do you know that a number is divisible by 5? So the last digit should be a 0 or a 5. I'm sure this one you know. If you see a 5 at the end, you know that the number is divisible by 5. Or if you see a 0, you know that the number is divisible by 5. So this one, as I said, 2 and 5 and 10 are the easiest ones. Then you can learn the others in your own time. And then how do we know that a number is divisible by 6? So this one is also easy. So we know that a number is divisible by 6 if it can be, so if it satisfies 2 and 3, meaning that if the last digit is an even number and then the number is also divisible by 3, then we know that that number is divisible by 6. And then, okay, I'll go through this. Let's actually look at the number so that I don't lose you. Okay. So let's look at factors of 132. So I gave you a number there. Let's go back. All right. So we check for us to get the factors. So this is another way of doing it. I think the finding the factor pairs is the easiest. So you can use that one or you can use this one. So, but you just have to know the rules of divisibility. So looking at the number 132, we want to check, is 132 divisible by 2? So we check the last number because the rule says the last digit has to be an even number. So we come to the last digit and we see the last digit is 2. So this means that 2 is a factor of 132. And then we check the next one. is it divisible by 3? So if we add the sum of the digits, so we say 1 plus 3 plus 2, we get 6. And 6 is a multiple of 3. So this means that 132, 3 is definitely a factor of 132. And then we check, is it divisible by 4? So we check the rule of divisible by 4, and the rule says the last 2 digits should be divisible by 4. So we come and check on 132, which are the last 2 digits. And the last 2 digits is 32. So we check, can we, when we count in fours, do we reach 32? So it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. So yes, we reached 32. So this means that 4 is also a factor of 132. And then we check, is 5 a factor of 132? And then we come and check, what does the rule of 5 says? It says that the last digit must be a 5 or a 0. And then we check 132, is the last digit 5 or 0? No, it is not. So what does this mean? This means that 5 is definitely not a factor of 132. You see how we do it? And then we move on to 6. Is 6 a factor of 132? Then we come to check. It says the rules of divisibility say that for a number to be a factor of 6, it has to be divisible by both 2 and 3. So is it divisible by 2? Yes, it is. Is it divisible by 3? Yes, it is. So this means that 6 is a factor of 132. And then we check, is 132 divisible by 7? So we come and read the rules. It says that for a number to be divisible by 7, you can double the last digit. So the last digit is 2, so we double the last digit, which gives us 4. And then after doubling the last digit, we have to subtract the sum from the rest of the number and set an answer that is divisible by 7. So what this means is we double the last digit. So we say 2 times 2, we get 4. And then the number is 13. And if we say 13 minus 4, we get 9. And 9 is not a multiple of 7. So this means that 7 is not a factor of 132. Okay, you guys should just move away from the just move away from the charts. Don't look at what they're saying on the charts, because you are losing focus, ne? Don't look at who is typing. You know, even in class there are kids that always makes noise and everything. So don't look at the comments. I also see they are now saying 30 something, but I wanted to see if it's a question. But you guys, you don't need to look at the comments, because I'm the one who wants to see the comments. So let's not disable any chat. Yes, it is in class. Really, it is a class. So people just need to behave. Move away from the chats, because other kids, you know, they don't want to actually listen, and they are doing a good job by distracting you. So just leave the chats, and then you just listen to what I'm saying. Otherwise, you are distracted. And then now we check, is it divisible by 8? And then the rule of divisible by 8 says that the last 3 digits have to be divisible by 8. So 132 is not divisible by 8, because the last 3 digits are not divisible by 8. And then the last one, do we check, is it divisible by 9? So it is not divisible by 9, because when we add the sum of the digits, we do not get a multiple of 9. So as I said, these rules of divisibility, you're not going to learn them in one day. So don't worry if you just got 3 marks, 3 points there, it's fine. You're not going to get them. I mean, some of them I also have to go through them to check, especially the 147. So don't be too hard on yourself. Just know the obvious ones like 2 and 3 and 5 and 10 and 9. 9 is also easier. And then some of them you learn them as you go. So those are the rules of divisibility. We have to touch on them. So if you didn't get them, it's fine. You read on them. And then that was about factors. Now we are going to look at multiples. Remember, we said that a factor starts from 1 and it ends with that number. So a factor starts from 1 and it ends with that number. And we went through on how you can get factor pairs. So we said you have to find the two numbers that when you multiply them together, they give you that number. So now a multiple, this is an opposite. So a multiple is the answer that you get when you multiply two numbers. And multiples, let me not get ahead of myself. And multiples appear in the numbers multiplication table. So they appear in the multiplication table. So remember, we have multiples of 2, 3, 4, 5, and most of you can sing the multiples of 2, of 3, or 4, whatever, and they appear in the multiplication table. You can calculate them by counting on by that number. So if I say you have to find multiples of 2, it means that you have to say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. You see the multiples, they start from that number. So they don't start from 1 like a factor. So example, multiples of 6 are. So if I say multiples of 6, it means you have to start counting from 6. So we say 6, 12, 18. And one thing about multiples, they do not end. They don't have an end. If I say you have to tell me the multiples of 6 now, you'll spend the rest of your life counting in multiples of 6, because then we say that multiples are infinite, so they do not end. But with factors, we say they start with a number and they start with 1 and they end with that number. But multiples, they start with the number and they do not end. You can count in multiples until you turn old. And then the difference between multiples and factors is that factors start with 1 and they end with that number. But multiples, like factors of 6, will be 1, 2, 3, and 6. So they end. Factors have an end. Multiples, they start from that number going forward. So multiples will never end. They never end. So you're not going to get a question that says, write all the multiples of 6, for example. You never get a question that says, write all the multiples of 100. The teacher will never give you that, because then it means you're going to need a million books to write all the multiples of 100. And then we're just going to go through this activity together, because I see time is not on our side. Which of the following numbers are not multiples of 10? So if I count in tens, which numbers am I not going to count? So if I have 70, 111, 50, 80, 250. So remember, multiples of 10 will have a 0 at the end always. So 111 is not a multiple of 10. See, so these are the kind of questions that you get. And which of the following numbers are not multiples of 8? So if you count in 8, which number are you not going to count here? That's what this question means. If you count in 8, which number are you not going to count in? So you're not going to count in 82. There's no 82 in the multiples of 8. Even if you go to the times table, on the multiples of 8, there's no 82. And then number 3, which one is not a multiple of 6? So if you count in 6, which number are you not going to count in? So it's 6, 12, so you say 12, 18, 24, 30, so 30 is there. 36 is there, 42, and then it's 48. So you see there is no 46 in the multiples of 6. So this means that 46 is not a multiple of 6. So these are the kind of questions that you'll get. And then we also have what we call the lowest common multiple. Okay, so we have the lowest common multiple, and then 2 or more numbers can have the same common multiples. And then I gave an example here. Multiples of 3, remember I said they do not end. That's why I said end of thinking capacity. I'm joking. This is ETC means it can move on and move on. So multiples of 3 is 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, blah, blah, blah. And then multiples of 4 is 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, blah, blah, blah. And then if you look at the example below, you can see that 12 is a common multiple. So meaning that if I count in 3s and count in 4s, I count there is 12. So I mentioned 12. And then also 24 is a common multiple. And when we look at the lowest common multiple, which one do they meet at first? So multiples of 3 and 4, they will meet at 12 first, and then they'll meet again at 24, at 36, and so on. So these are lowest common multiples. And then questions that you get on multiples, as I said, you're not going to get a question. You're not going to get a question that says write all the multiples of 12, but you're going to get a question that says write all the factors, list all the factors. So I'm just going to peruse through this one, and you guys can go back and check. So we can says make up a 2-digit number that is a multiple of 3 and 6. So these are common multiples. These are common multiples. And then number 2 says, list the next 3 multiples of 6 from 60. So you get a question like this. List the next 3 multiples of 6 from 60. So what does it mean? You have to list from 60. You see, and it tells you how many multiples you must list. It doesn't say list all the multiples of 6. It says list the next 3 multiples of 6 from 60. So the next one from 60 will be 66, then 72 and 78. So this is how the questions are going to come when it comes to multiples. So I hope you guys can see the distinction there between multiples and factors. And then in summary, the difference between factors and multiples is we can count the factors of a number, but we cannot count the multiples. Factors, they have an end. Multiples, they do not end. And then factors, they start from 1 up until that number, as most of the learners that answered told us. And then the multiples, they start from that number going forward. And we say that the multiples are infinite, meaning that they do not end, they do not have an end. And then you'll get a question that says, write all the factors of a certain number. But you can never get a question that says, write all the multiples of a number. So every time you think about factors and multiples, I want you to think about that. So this brings us to the end of the lesson. I see we've gone above 3 minutes. So on the next lesson, we are going to look at multiplying 3-digit number by 2-digit numbers. So we're going to look at the breaking down method and the column method. So that is what we're going to look at. I hope tomorrow there won't be things that are going on the chat. Ne? I hope that the chats will be more sincere, and you guys, you know, we are a diverse nation. So yes, and don't be late, please. Don't be late. Don't be late. Because if you're late, then you're not going to catch up, and then you're going to ask the learners, what are we doing? And you are distracting the class. It's unfortunate if you're late. I'm not going to say you are not allowed, because that is not allowed, but just don't be late so that you catch up with us. Until tomorrow, you guys stay safe. I'll see you then.